A very good evening and welcome all the participants that have joined us through the webinar platform or through YouTube Live to today's live session on e-invoicing. We have kept this session as I've received a lot of queries and a lot of demand to keep this session on the implementation part of e-invoicing. So without wasting much of time, I would like to introduce today's speaker, CA Rejeev Khandelwal ji, who is also the director of Webtel Electrosoft Private Limited, to begin with the presentation. I would also like to mention a couple of points before beginning the webinar. All those who have joined us through the platform are requested to kindly disable their videos for a better bandwidth, and also request you to kindly post only your queries in the chat box. We'll take all your queries in a collaborative way at the end of the session. Thank you so much, and over to Rajiv, sir.
A very good afternoon to all the participants. So today's topic, e-invoicing. Obviously, there's a lot of buzz about e-invoicing, and there are many myths also. So right away we'll begin with, and we'll be talking about the important things about e-invoicing. So first of all, I think the most important thing is to whom it is applicable. The government has issued a lot of notifications regarding that, regarding applicability or changing the applicability. Initially, as you may be aware, it was applicable to those people who had the turnover of more than 100 crores with effect from 1st of April. But as you're aware, that has now been postponed to 1st of October, and even the threshold has been raised to 500 crores and more in the immediately preceding year. So if in 1920 your turnover is more than 500 crores, then with effect from 1st of October 2020, invoicing is applicable to you. These are the various notifications which have been issued from time to time. And when we talk about turnover, which turnover is this? First of all, this is company level turnover. It is not GST. A company may be having several GST, several registrations. A company may be having, let's say, all over India, 5 registrations in 5 different states. So the turnover of all these registrations combined will be taken, will be seen for the purpose of applicability of GST e-invoice with effect from 1st of October. And when we talk about turnover, which turnover are we talking about? Generally, when we say turnover, we look to the figure in the profit and loss account, and whatever figure is coming, we are seeing that for this purpose. But for this specific purpose, we have to see the turnover as per GST, the aggregate turnover as per GST, and that includes various other things like branch transfers. So please be aware that when we are talking about the turnover of the immediately preceding year, that is 1920, we are talking about the turnover as per your GSTR 9 or 9C, the final working which you have done for that year. So we are talking about that turnover, and it obviously includes branch transfers, etc. So obviously, if the turnover is much more, then nothing, no more needs to be seen. If in the balance sheet itself the turnover is more than 500 crores, obviously it is applicable. But for marginal cases, at least we'll have to see the figures, including branch transfers and certain other transactions, like even sale of assets, etc. Even on that, GST is applicable. So all those have to be included. So as I told you, and regarding this mandatory applicability of e-invoicing, this is why notification number 13 of 21st March 2020, updated by notification number 61 of 30 July 2020. So as I told you, for with effect from 1st of October, and turnover above 500 crores. So if the turnover is above 500 crores, in which cases e-invoice is applicable, let us see. Even if the turnover is above 500 crores, in all the cases, we don't have to make e-invoices. So e-invoice is applicable for only B2B cases. Only for B2B cases, the e-invoice will be mandatory. And in that case, the data will be uploaded at the invoice registration portal or the IRP, as I'll be referring to hereafter. An invoice reference number, a specific number will be generated by a portal that will be applicable. A QR code will be generated in the case of invoices. Obviously, that's applicable. And this QR code will be obtained from the invoice registration portal, and it will be mandatory to print this QR code on the printed invoice. So this is for the e-invoice part. But a company having more than 500 crores turnover, what about B2C cases? Even in the case of B2C cases, for B2C cases, e-invoice is not mandatory. And even the option is not there. Even if you want to issue e-invoices in B2C cases, the government is as of now not allowing you that. So that's not possible. For B2C cases, you have to issue your own invoices, physical invoices, PDF invoices, as you have been issuing till now with a QR code. But let us understand this invoice data will not be uploaded at the portal, the government portal, about which I'll be telling you just now. No invoice reference number is applicable. No QR code will be generated from the portal. When you are not uploaded at the portal, then how the portal can generate the QR code? But in this case, a different QR code will be there, will be generated by you yourselves through your ERP or using Webtel services, which will help you generate a specific QR code without even uploading the data on the portal. And it will be mandatory to print this QR code, even in the case of B2C invoices. But here, important difference, this QR code will be self-generated. It will not be generated from the portal. Then a few exemptions are there. In some cases, the government has given some exemptions for the transport sector, goods transportation, passenger transportation, even cineplexes, multiplexes, where a normal ticket printed from system is being generated. Their exemption has been given by notification number 13 of 2020. Then there are some other sectors like banking, NBFC, insurance companies, all exempt for the time being. In the first phase, these sectors have been exempt, and lately, by notification number 61, even special economic zones have been exempt, meaning thereby that a special economic zone, even if the turnover exceeds 500 crores, is not supposed to issue an e-invoice even with effect from 1st of October 2020. But if you are a normal company and you are issuing invoices to a SEZ, and e-invoicing is applicable to you, you have to issue an e-invoice. So these few sectors are exempt as of now. So what will be the brief process in this case? Let's see that. First of all, generation of invoice will take place from the ERP or accounts as usual, as we are doing as of now. The same process will continue. Therefore, thereafter, this invoice will be uploaded at the invoice registration portal in a JSON format, which is a digital format, electronic format, and that is the format in which the government will accept the data. Once the data is accepted, a unique invoice reference number, a unique reference number, which will be unique throughout the financial year for a particular, for each invoice will be there, generated by the portal, and a QR code will be generated at the portal. Then the e-invoice data with IRN and QR code will be given back to the supplier. And please switch off your videos. And then the this e-invoice data will be sent to the purchasing party or the buyer, and also the e-waybill portal and the GST common portal will be updated with this data. Thereafter, let us see what will happen. Now coming to which documents will have to be uploaded as e-invoice. Invoice obviously will have to be uploaded. Besides that, debit notes and credit notes which you issue will also have to be issued as e-invoice, and also any other document which is notified by the government will have to be issued as an e-invoice. As of now, no other document has been specified by the government to be issued as e-invoice. So as of now, invoices, debit notes and credit notes will have to be issued as e-invoices. What about input service distributor when he issues an invoice, debit note or credit note? What do you think? What will be done in that case? Whether an e-invoice will be necessary? Even an input service distributor issues an invoice to the other registrations within his company. This is an invoice from one business enterprise to another having different GST. So here also e-invoice will be mandatory. What about delivery challan, bill of supply, job work document, etc.? For these, e-invoicing is not mandatory. They are not to be uploaded, have to be made as of now manually or whatever way you are making. You have to continue that. These are not supposed to be uploaded on the portal. The government has notified the format or the schema of the e-invoicing, and that continuously keeps on changing based on the recommendations or the errors that people are pointing out. That keeps on updating. Some sample fields in the invoice, and the e-invoice schema has various fields. Some fields are mandatory, some are optional. Some of the mandatory fields are GST of the buyer and the seller. Quantity in the case of goods is mandatory. In the case of services, it is not mandatory. And other optional fields like phone number of buyer, paid name of supplier, vendor fee of reference number, etc. These are optional fields. Now, a very important question arises. How much time will we get to issue e-invoice? So before that, how much time do we get to issue a normal invoice? You must be aware, we have section 31, which talks about the usual time for issue of invoice, which is 30 days before removal or delivery of the goods in the case of goods, and in the case of services, we get 30 days time. So what about e-invoicing? How much time will we get? Again, here the government keeps changing its view, probably now for testing or whatever. Earlier, they had not set any time limit. They had not provided. Subsequently, they had provided a time limit of 48 hours. So, for an invoice of 1st of October, for an invoice dated 1st of October, you can issue an invoice for 1st of October or 2nd of October. So this was given, but this has yesterday only this has been changed. They have removed this validation. Probably there again, either they are allowing the DSPs and the software providers to test all these things. That is why these validations have been removed. But obviously, they will have to put some time limit. So as of now, this time limit has been removed. But again, I think it will come back. And this will pose various challenges for us, because we will get some limited time period for issue of invoices. And what about the holidays, etc.? And in the current case itself, if we issue an invoice on 1st of October, and then 2nd October is a holiday, you are aware, 3rd October is a Saturday, 4th October is a Sunday. So if this limit is there, that it is to be issued in 48 hours, whether they'll be considering these public holidays, etc., Saturdays, Sundays, etc. So all these issues will crop up, and I'm not sure whether they have taken these things into account or not. But that is why they have removed this validation as of now. So in due course, this validation will come again. Probably they might provide some extra time or whatever, but we have to be aware about these things, because as of now, we issue invoices on our suite will whenever it is required, but that will now not be possible. So the date on the invoice, etc. In the immediately preceding version, it said that if you are issuing an invoice on the 1st of October, then invoice must be issued either by the 1st of October or 2nd of October at 11:59:59. So that was the validation, which as of now has been removed. So let us see what is the final validation. Then the maximum number of items in the case of e-invoice, a reasonably large amount has been put for that. Is in the case of e-way bill, you must be aware that the limitation is of 250 items. 250 items only you can raise an e-way bill, and but in the invoice they say 1,000 items can be put. So how this is to be matched? If the invoice has 1,000 items and e-way bill only 250 items are allowed, so the top 250 items in the invoice will find the place in e-way bill, and some rest one they will not show in the e-way bill. So that is how it is being taken care of. Questions you can keep on putting in the chat box, or in the end, if we get time, we'll unmute you also so that you can ask your questions on voice also. So this is the format. This is the JSON format in which the invoice will go. This is the same format in which the returns, etc., also go to the portal. Now, where this e-invoice will have to be uploaded, it's not the normal portal where you file the GST returns, gst.gov.in. The government has will be putting on several portals. In fact, they'll be putting on 10 portals. One portal is already live for this purpose, where e-invoices will have to be uploaded. And somebody might ask, why 10 portals? You are aware that since there's a single portal, and even the filing of returns, which takes place once a month only in most of the cases, or in some cases even once in 3 months, even in that case, we face problems at the last moment. So when we talk about invoices which are being issued on a daily basis by companies all over the country on a continuous basis, so there might be problems. And this is something which cannot stop. You cannot stop issuing invoices because some problem is there at the portal or something. So the government was alive to that issues and problems, and that is why they will be setting up 9 such portals. So total there will be 10 portals, and we as GSPs, when we'll be uploading your invoices, we'll be putting it through the portal where the traffic is less. So all these things will be inbuilt in the portal, in the solution that is being provided by Webtel. And we'll see wherever the traffic is less, your invoices will be uploaded at that portal. And it does not make any difference whether it is invoice 1 portal or 2 portal or 10 portal, doesn't make a difference. And this is the screenshot of the first portal that is live on the net. You can see that. And once, if you have the credentials, you can log in, and all this data will be available. Once these things start functioning, we'll be able to see how many generation of invoices were there yesterday or during this month, or how many have been cancelled. And then other things like user management, API registration, etc., and e-way bill printing, etc. All these options will also be available here. Now, once the data is uploaded by you on the portal, there will be some checks or validations at the portal. The invoice number should be unique. You should not upload an invoice and later on somebody else from some other department or your own department or some other branch tries to upload that. That will not be allowed. So it will be rejected. Similarly, the GSTIN of the buyer and the seller will have to be active. So these basic checks will be taking place at the portal. And what else? What will be the process of that will take place at the portal? Let us see. Invoice registration. First of all, invoice validation will take place at the portal. These things will be checked, as I told you. Once these are checked, the invoice will be registered at the portal, and an invoice reference number or an IRN will be generated. A QR code will be generated, and that will end the process at the portal. And let us understand that there will be no registration without all mandatory fields being there in the e-invoice. So we as the solution provider will ensure that all the mandatory fields are there in the e-invoice. And it's not that simple. Some fields are mandatory, some fields are optional, and but if the optional fields you use, like let's say batch details, if you want to use batch details, are optional, which are not mandatory in the case of, let's say, clothes or garments or some things like that. But in the case of pharmaceuticals, drugs, etc., these things are these are necessary, these are mandatory. But once you select that particular item, then in that some items are mandatory. So अगर आप ये use कर रहे हैं तो आपको जो optional fields तो आप छोड़ सकते हैं, but mandatory fields we'll have to do in the case of, let's say, these details in the case of expiry date, etc., have to be given in those cases. And then simultaneously some updation will be done at the portal. What will happen? Let us see. Updation at the e-available portal. Whatever data is being uploaded by you in the invoice, the relevant data will update the e-available portal also. Simultaneously, GSTR1 of the supplier will be updated, and also 2A of the buyer will be updated. All these things will also happen simultaneously. Now, something about invoice reference number, how it is being generated, what are the constituents of IRN. Let us try and understand that. It is made up of GSTN of the supplier, GSTN of the supplier, and also the document type, the financial year, and the document number. All these things are there, which make up the IRN like this. So if the first item is the GSTN, then the financial year, the document type, whether it is invoice or INV, etc., and then the document number. So all these together will, whether all these together will be the IRN. Will you reply on the chat box? Let me see. Will all these together become IRN?
Sir, everyone is saying yes.
Everybody agrees that this will become IRN?
Yes, sir.
No, this will not become IRN. Some hashing computerized process will take place, and then it will be converted to some string like this. Something like this. This will be a IRN. Unique. This will be the unique identity of the invoice, and the length will be 64 characters. And if you want to see it closely, it will be something like this. Whether you upload on portal 1, upload on portal 2, 3, 10, etc., it will be the same, because some specific directions have been given in the programming that it has to be generated in this manner. So how many of you can memorize it and put it in your ERPs? So how will you store it in your ERP? Memorize it and then put it in? How you'll do that? Yes, replies on the chat. Not possible. So how will we do that? Webtel is there. Okay,
Webtel is
Sanjeev,
there, sir.
okay. So what we'll be getting back from the portal, it will be a signed invoice, which will be obviously encrypted format, which will be decrypted, and we get a file like this, which will be containing all the necessary information, which can again be converted to a printed invoice format. And this signed invoice, any tampering with that will result in failing of the digital signature, and the e-invoice will be invalid. Whatever we have done, whatever we wish to do to the e-invoice, where even if once it has been uploaded at the portal, you cannot even add a full stop or a comma to that. If you try to do that, it will be tampering with that, and it will not be a valid e-invoice. So whatever you have to do, it has to happen prior to uploading at the portal. And there's an option at the portal also to verify e-invoice. The JSON file that is being received by you, that can be uploaded at the portal, and you can check whether this is a valid invoice or not. Then I also told you that a QR code will be generated. What is this QR code? It will be something like this. And this QR code will be from the naked eye, you will not be able to read what information is there. I think it's similar to the QR codes which are there on the various items when we go to supermarkets, and these all the stickers are there on the items, and when they are using the QR code scanner, they can read what product it is, what is the amount, what are the discounts, etc. So all this information is inbuilt in the QR code. So this QR code will be made up of the unique IRN.
Sir, I have a question. Someone is asking if I'll scan the QR code, what details will give?
Yeah, I'm telling that only.
Yeah.
So it will be the unique IRN, important invoice data, and the digital signature. It will be a proof of receipt of invoice at the portal and acceptance reference. So a signed QR code will be something like this, and if we decrypt it, it will be like this. What invoice details? The question that was being asked. All these details: GSTN of the seller, GSTN of the buyer, invoice number, invoice date, invoice value, which will include the taxable value, the gross tax, number of items, HSN of the main item, and IRN. All these things will together make the QR code. When you use a QR code scanner, you'll be able to read all this information. And in the end, I think if the time permits, we'll also try and let you scan these also. I'll try and do that. And HSN of the main, there may be several items in the invoice. So HSN of the main item will be taken for this purpose. And the government is very shortly to give you a mobile app through which you'll be able to read this QR code, and the information like this will be available through the mobile app. Now, another important thing is that from all these portals, the 10 portals that the government proposes to put, one it has already put, the data will stay only for 24 hours. After the 24 hours, this data will be going to a central registry. So any e-invoice amendment at the invoice registration portal is not allowed. At the GSTN, at the usual way, you can do the amendment. Now, presently, I'm talking about amendment. Any changes to the e-invoice, once you have done that, uploaded at the portal, no changes can be done. So these amendments can be done only at the GSTN portal, as you are doing now. Then let us see how other changes can be done. Cancellation and amendment. In what time period, what can be done? Let us see. At the IRP or the registration portal, there's cancellation. We're talking about cancellation, not amendment. Amendment cannot be done at the portal. So cancellation can be done at the IRP or the government portal up to 24 hours, because after 24 hours, the data will not be there. होगा ही नहीं तो आप cancel कैसे करेंगे? And after and from 24 hours till filing of the return, this can be done at the GST common portal where the data is being uploaded. So that can be done at the GST common portal. And thereafter, after filing the return, you can do amendment as you are doing now in the subsequent returns that you are doing. So this is the flow how in different time periods we can do the changes, amendments, cancellations, etc. Then e-waybill again will continue. Somebody may ask, and I think people here also will be asking whether e-waybill will continue till such time. E-waybill as of now will continue, because in B2C cases, e-invoice is not mandatory. So the normal process of e-waybill will continue. So whatever process you are using, you might be using Webtel services for e-waybill generation, also integration services with the ERPs, etc. So that will work as usual. And even in other cases, E-waybill has also two parts, as you might be aware. So you can also put all the necessary information in the e-invoice. If you have all the information, the details of the transporter, the details of the truck, etc. If all the details are there, you can put all the details there, and you can generate e-waybill also from there. That will be generated automatically. But obviously there are issues with that, because in that case you will, let me come to the direct thing. You get only the time period starts from the period where the part B is generated. So even if part B is generated from e-invoice itself, so you'll be getting lesser time. But if you just upload part A details, transporter ID, etc., in that case only part A will be generated, and subsequently at the e-waybill portal or using our services you generate part B. In that case, the time period will start from that moment. So obviously, otherwise, if the time period is 1 day, so 1 day will lapse if there is some delay, etc. So it is advisable that part B is generated subsequently and not at the time of e-invoice itself. So documents with the transporter, again, as of now, the invoice should be there, the e-waybill which should also be there. And Rule 138A, sub-rule 2 says that talks about a registered person must obtain an IRN from the portal and other things, a tax invoice issued by him in Form GST INV01. And very importantly, in lieu of the tax invoice, and such number shall be valid for a period of 30 days from the date of uploading. That means, please keep on admitting the members, otherwise I get these on my screen. So the validity of IRN will be 30 days. Once IRN has been generated, and for some reason you are not able to transport the goods, in that case, IRN will become invalid. You get a significantly large number of days. 30 days is not a small time period. You get sufficiently large number of days, 30 days. But somehow, if due to some reason you're uploaded at the portal, but 30 days pass, thereafter IRN will become invalid, and you'll have to upload another invoice. Another IRN will be generated, and that will be used for the transport of goods. So please remember that. So we can say that if the invoice date is 5th of October 2020 and IRN is generated on 6th of October 2020, in that case, IRN will be valid till 5th of November. 30 days time period will be there. If you try to use this IRN or this invoice for transporting the goods on 6th November onwards, it will be invalid. It will be, I think, all the things will follow, all the consequences will follow as if there is no invoice. Printing, etc. You can print an e-invoice also, send to your party, and the format will be something like this. Logo question arises whether we can put our own logo in the printout of the invoice that you give to your party. You can have a logo, but that should not be part of e-invoice. Now, another very important thing. This is rule 48 sub rule 5, which talks about very important thing. Every invoice issued by a person to whom sub rule 4 applies, that is the notified persons for e-invoicing, in any manner other than the manner specified in the said sub rule shall not be treated should not be treated as an invoice. If e-invoice is applicable to you, your turnover is above 500 crores, and you are not an exempted person like banking or insurance companies, in that case, if you are issuing a paper invoice, and this invoice will not be treated as an invoice. If you're transporting that material using a physical invoice, which has not been uploaded at the portal, it will be as if it is being transported without an invoice, and all the consequences will follow. And also very importantly, that means that an invoice without an invoice reference number or IRN will not be a legal document. In other words, that the purchaser, the buyer, will not get any ITC on that. From your point of view, other consequences will follow. The government will be after your life that the material is being transported without a proper invoice, etc. But even your buyer will be the big sufferer. So that also outlines the fact that we as corporates have also to see whether all our vendors who should be issuing e-invoices are actually issuing e-invoices to us. If they're issuing a proper just an invoice, a paper invoice or a PDF invoice, and the data has not been uploaded in the portal, and we think it is none of our concern. It is our concern because we as purchasers will not be getting ITC on that. So it is very important. So compliance has to take place at my end also and at the end of the vendors also. So we have to be careful about that. And when we talk about e-invoicing, let us say when we talk about returns, doesn't matter if you file it 1 or 2 days late, doesn't matter. Probably some late fees will be levied, even in that in most of the cases being waived. If you do not issue any other particular document, the government is in many cases extended the deadlines, etc. But when we talk about invoicing, this is related to business continuity. Think of a scenario where on the 1st of October, you are not ready with invoicing. Will you be able to tell your bosses, your directors, your senior vice presidents or presidents that, sir, because of some technical hitch, because of the service provider, we are not able to issue e-invoices on the 1st of October. Since e-invoices not being issued, we cannot issue even these operational people may say, sir, let us send the material with a normal invoice. E-invoice will upload later on, but that cannot be done. An invoice without an invoice reference number is no invoice at all. It is void ab initio. So you cannot transport the material without an invoice which has been uploaded to the portal, and an IRN and a QR code has been obtained and printed on the invoice. So you cannot take that a hit. You cannot, your business continuity is at stake. So it is that much important. And what about data security? How many of you are concerned about data security? And which data are we talking about? This is the important confidential business data containing all the business details, secrets, etc. At what price you are selling the material, how much discount you are giving. To party A, you may be selling at a particular price. To party B, you may be selling at, let's say, 10 or 20% less. You may be giving some quantity discounts to some other persons. Everything related to the business is going in this data. So I think we all must be very concerned about the data security. And is it not necessary that such data should be there at our own systems only, and some secure pipeline of GSP services should be there through which the data is being uploaded at the portal directly? If you upload the data on cloud and from the cloud it goes to the government servers, don't you think your security can be breached? All this data will be there for hackers. And in spite of the best security, I agree that each service provider, including Webtel, will be using the best security. But about the cloud servers where the data will reside for some time at least, I think security can be compromised. Hackers may get misuse that data. Every day we are reading in newspapers that this data is being hacked. So I think that's very important. That also we must consider, and we are as of now talking about big corporates having turnover above 500 crores. In the days to come, even 100 crores and more, and others will come in this. But these, normally we are not that much concerned about data security, but this is very important. see this important data. If some competitor is able to access, what will happen? Business continuity will be at stake. So again, very important. So please take data security very seriously. And whichever service provider you are considering, think of data security as very important. So what is the roadmap? So what all we have to do? Time is short. You may say a full 1 month is there, September is there, but many things have to be done. We'll be talking about some important things. Frequent changes are there. Just yesterday, they have done some changes important amongst them. That earlier they said that 48 hours will be there to issue e-invoice. If you're issuing the invoice on the 1st of October, a normal invoice on the 1st of October, an e-invoice can be issued on the 1st or the 2nd of October. That validation as of now has been removed. I do not know whether this will come back and how many days they will change, but this has been removed. So even these kind of changes, in the schema that they're doing day in, day out, our team is on this job who are taking care of these things. If you try to do these things yourself, you'll have to keep track of these things also. Otherwise, the data will not be uploaded at the portal. A lot of work is to be done. Have your internal deadlines also, and this is a technology driven change. So you and I cannot do much without the help of the IT guys. And here I'd also talk about the people who have turnover about below the threshold, or the chartered accountants or the other professionals who are having clients who are below the 500 crore turnover threshold. Let's say the turnover is between 100 to 500 crores, and in the next phase even below 100 crores. So should they not be concerned as of now? Whatever we are talking about, the preparation, etc., that should begin right away, even for them, because a lot of work is to be done. And probably 2 or 3 months down the line, or 6 months down the line, this will happen. And this is a matter of time only. This is for their own convenience. They do not want the entire country, all the companies, all the businesses, even small businesses, to come online and upload the data at the portal at the same time, and it might crash. So that is why they begin with 500 crores and more. Then they'll be starting with 100 to 500 crores, and then subsequently, in due course, it will be e-invoice will be mandatory for everybody. So preparations should begin right away for everybody. More so for those having turnover above 500 crores. Important things I'll be talking about. We are short in time, and we have to come to the. And let me tell you, I'll be showing you how in SAP also, because we are doing integration for various ERPs, including SAP, Navision, etc., Oracle. So how things will happen, I'll show you a demo for that also. And also I'll try to generate, if the things are, the APIs are working properly, I'll generate the number, invoice reference number, even in front of you, and the internet properly working. Subject to all these things, I'll try and show you that. So one of the important things, the very basic things, but very important, is redesigning of invoice. Because the invoice schema is giving some essential items, the mandatory items, and it might not be there in your normal invoice. In most of the cases, it will be there, but you have to check each and every item, whether the mandatory items in the schema are there in your own e-invoice, or some items in your invoice are there which are not there in the invoice schema, even as optional items. If it is so, you have to write to the GSTN, or we can help you in that we have to tell them, see, this item is not there in the schema and we need it. So these kind of redesigning will be done. Whether all the fields are there in the schema, which are there in the schema, are there in the ERP or not. A simple example, though it will be there. Now, since for the purposes of distance, for e-waybill, etc., the PIN code is necessary. Let's say one homegrown ERP, or some specific ERP which the company is developed itself, or handling itself, the distance is not there, or the PIN code field is not there for the buyer and the seller. So that's mandatory. That has to be there. So these kind of things we have to see. And if even a QR code is to be printed, where will you print? You will say our invoice is already so much data is on the invoice, and there is no place for the QR code. Where will we print? So you have to redesign the invoice. कुछ item को शायद आपको छोटा करना पड़ेगा. You'll have to make the font smaller, some items, some logo you'll have to make smaller, etc. So some will be the commercial requirements like the business logo, the business name, etc., address, etc. And there will be some requirements of the schema. So we have to have a judicious mix of the two so that practically everything is covered and we do not face problems. Other small things like the invoice number should not begin with a 0, slash or dash. If it is in between, it is okay. Otherwise, for the purpose of IRN generation, they will have to be left. Discount item, discount how you show on the invoice, whether it is being shown as after the total of the all the items. Thereafter, you are showing as a single line item, let's say 10% discount on all the items, or for specific items, you have specific discounts, 10% for item A, 5% for item B, etc., so on and so forth. So whether that option is there or not, the e-invoicing is given both those options. So that is available. So whatever you want to use. And also, as I told you, you have to also see the readiness of your vendors. So again, at the site, they have given these facilities to check whether your vendor is registered for e-invoicing or not. So that facility is also available at the portal. You can see for yourself, you can see for your vendors, etc. So I think that was a lot about the things I wanted to talk to you about. And there are other optional issues, operational issues that also will be important. What kind of invoice will be you'll be issuing to the buyer, whether it will be a physical invoice, whether it will be an e-invoice or both. And in the B2C cases of it, obviously it will be a physical invoice or a PDF invoice as you are issuing now. In the case of physical invoice, how many the number of copies will be required, whether there will be a separate series for physical invoice and e-invoicing, signing, whether digital signing will take place or physical signing will take place. So there are a lot many things which we have to consider, and time is short. I cannot talk about all these things. Our team is well equipped to guide you on all these issues. They will guide you. They'll be hand holding you on all these things. So next, I think, how many of you would like to see a practical demo in, let's say, in the case of SAP, how things will happen? How many of you want to see that? Does anybody want to see, Shubham? Shubham, you are there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So do people want to see the SAP video?
Yes, sir. Yes, I am receiving a lot of yes from the customer.
Okay, so let us see how things will happen.
I think, sir, mostly the people who are into invoicing are using SAP, and it does not allow.
Okay, so we'll begin the how things
Yeah.
will happen. Let us see
Yeah, yeah.
how things will happen in SAP. Let us see. So here we have written a program, E-invoice in SAP, and this will be used to generate IRN. We will select the relevant invoice. We can copy paste the number. This is being done manually just to show to you, but otherwise things will be happening automatically. Here we will see the invoices. This is all new invoices for IRN is not being generated. We was just checking the data whether it is correct or not. Initially, that will be done. Otherwise, everything will happen automatically without much of human intervention. So we can generate IRN for these invoices. We'll run this program. We will select all these invoices. You can do for one invoice, multiple invoices we want, and we will run this program. It is successfully moved to the FTP location. Now I'll execute this program, generate IRN. In IRN, it is being submitted at the portal. The data is being submitted at the portal. Now we will get back to the data which is being obtained back from the portal with the IRN and QR code. Let us run that program. Is invoice get program is there. Now we will again generate IRN, execute this command. And now we will see that IRN has been generated. You can see this 64-digit number is there. And For all these, the IRN has been generated. And it will happen as if it is happening from your own system. It will happen so soon that you won't even know how things are happening. So once this is done, we can next see how the invoice will be printed. We'll do that. Because we'll be needing that also. Printing of the invoice, this program will run. And this is how the invoice will look like once we get it from the portal. It will take some time, but then we'll get it. And this is how the invoice will be generated.
Sir, I think this is scannable. Can we scan this?
Once it has been generated, we can obviously use it. And if there's some any issue is there, we can also cancel it. So next this invoice, I think that is not this in here. So I'll show it to you separately. Now we have another simple, just to show to you. Otherwise, a detailed program is there where we are doing this work. So now let us try and generate an e-invoice in this case. I hope the internet is working fine. This data is being uploaded, and see, so fast it has been uploaded. The internet is working fine. And now you can try and use your mobile phones, the camera, if you have your camera, or the more better, if you have a QR code scanner in your mobiles, try and scan it with this, and you will be able to see the necessary information you'll get. Just try and do that. I'm also doing at my end. Can we remove this? I think this might not be a problem otherwise. And let me know how many of you can see this, the QR code scanner.
Yes, sir.
Are people able to see it?
Yes, sir.
And let me try and remove this. It might be, let me share it again. Just a minute. I'll do it again.
Sir, I have shared in the chat section what information is
Now
there.
try and scan. And you might be able to see the necessary information with the QR code scanner. In some cameras also it will be visible, but in the QR code scanner. And please let me know in the chat box if you are able to see that. Shubham?
Yes, sir. Sir, it is visible, and I've also shared.
Anybody able to see?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've also shared it in the
So
chat.
let me at least show you what I'm getting if you're not able to see.
Sir, I've shared it in the chat section, sir.
I don't know whether you can see it or not. I'm getting this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is how QR code will be generated, and it can even be cancelled. I've cancelled it. Let me generate for this invoice again. Okay. It says duplicate IRN. You must remember that one invoice you can upload only once. If you try and do that, you'll not be able to do that. For your benefit, I'll do it for another invoice. I'll again generate it. And now you can again try and do it with your mobile phones with the QR code scanners. And in the meantime, you can do that. And also I can start taking the queries if you have any. Shubham?
Yes, sir.
Shubham and Akash.
Right, sir. Sir, I think let me share my screen once, and let us club the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were people able to see the information in the QR code?
Yes, sir. Most of people are replying yes. They're able
Okay.
to see it, sir.
Okay.
Sir, there are a lot of questions. I'll start from the starting.
Yes, we can take the questions now.
Sir, one question is repeated thrice. Do we need to upload RCM ISD invoices?
ISD invoices you have to upload. RCM invoices only B2B cases where you are issuing a reverse charge invoice in a B2B case, like in the case of an advocate or a GTA. In that case, and the other person is a registered person. Only in that case it is allowed. For B2C cases, it is not allowed. So RCM invoices, yes, but in the case of B2B cases. Yes.
Sir,
Next.
one question is, I think I'm not able to understand completely, but I think
You can Shubham, now you can share your own screen.
yeah,
If you have to share some QR code scanner,
yes,
etc.
yes, sir. So Webtel, as you are aware, is a ESP GSP provider. So we are not just into e-bill or e-invoicing. We are giving a end-to-end solution from your monthly returns to annual returns to reconciliation to generation of e-way bill through integration, and as sir showed in the presentation, integrating and generation of e-invoicing through a very seamless process, be it any ERP. So, if you want to know more about e-invoicing or any SPGSP GST services, you can simply scan this QR code and our team will come back to you. Sir, I'll come back to the questions. If anyone need to scan this, we'll be able to scan this and he'll be able to reach out to us. So someone is asking that their turnover is 900 crores, but B2C supplies is 600 crores. So what about the applicability in this case, sir?
When we are talking about applicability of e-invoicing, we are not seeing the individual components of the turnover. If it is exceeding 900 crores, then e-invoicing is applicable, irrespective of whether it is more due to B2C or B2C, etc. So we don't have to see that.
Sir, someone issues e-way bill for stock transfer. So do we need to upload e-invoicing or not?
E-invoicing is to be there for B2B. So even if you are issuing to your own unit which has a different registration number, in that case, an e-invoicing will be applicable.
Right. Sir, for companies having turnover 100 crores to 500 crores, is it voluntary to do invoicing? Please confirm.
As of now, they cannot upload e-invoicing. They cannot use it. Once the government allows that, then they'll be able to do. Voluntarily, as of now, they cannot do. And there's a question whether we are supporting Tally software also. We're supporting Tally also, Busy also. We are and various ERPs like SAP, Navision, Oracle. We are supporting all these.
Sir, can we save data of IRP?
Data of?
IRP. I think this
What's
question
the
is
question?
not complete. Yeah.
I didn't get the question.
Sir, I think it's incomplete. Sir, I'll move to the next question.
Uh-huh.
As per
Then there's a question like if non-taxable turnover of alcohol is to be taken into consideration for 500 crore, it has to be taken into consideration. If it is exclusively alcohol, which is out of GST, then it's not applicable. But if it is something which is partly some other item, taxable item in GST, and partly alcohol is there, then GST e-invoicing is applicable.
Sir, Manvi Agarwal is asking, as per a webinar on 14th of August, ISD invoice, as of now, there is no e-way bill applicability. However, it can come up in future, sir. Any clarification on this yet?
In the case of ISD?
Yes, sir.
No, ISD is only for services, na? So e-way bill, how are you talking about that? It is only for distribution of services. So it's not, e-way bill is not applicable. Then another important thing which was there in recent webinar by the government agency which is handling this, they said as of now when we are talking about applicability, we are talking about turnover of 1920. But they have shared that very in the near future itself, the government will be coming out with a notification whereby from the date when GST was made applicable, that is 1st July 2017 onwards, if in any year, if the turnover exceeds 500 crores, in that case, e-invoice may be made applicable. So there may be a case in which in 1920, the turnover is less than 500 crores, but in the earlier year or the first year, that is 1718, the turnover was 500 crores and more. So even in those cases, the government is, I think, thinking, and it will very recently in the near future, it will come out with a notification whereby if in any of these 3 years, your turnover exceeds 500 crores, even if subsequently it has reduced, even to those it will be applicable from 1st of October. So let us see that. So keep that also in mind. Those of you, if the turnover was more than 500 crores, if not 1920, but 1718 or 1819 also. Next question.
Sir, Sanjeev Goske has a couple of questions. I'll go through them. In case of manually uploading the invoices, how to convert invoice in JSN? How to upload invoices to IRP and how to convert signed JSN in invoice?
So this will be a process. If
Right.
you have very small number of invoices, you may use some tool to generate JSON file and upload it manually. But in the case of bigger corporates where there are hundreds and thousands of invoices, obviously an automated process, a seamless process is required. And so everything will happen automatically. You don't need to bother. Everything will happen through the system.
Sanjeev Goski is saying that he is not able to get the PPT of last webinar. Sir, a number is being displayed on the screen, sir. You can contact us, you can call us, you can WhatsApp us, and we'll share you the PPT, sir.
Then there's a question, can we save invoices on IRP for some time? On invoice reporting portal, once you uploaded the data, you have nothing is in your control. The government will keep it for 24 hours there and thereafter move it to the central registry. So you have no control over that. E-invoice is not applicable on bill on supply. Gaurav Kamboj has asked, so it's not applicable.
Sir, some questions regarding SAP. Sir, SAP invoice need to change on portal invoice or will it be valid?
Come up with this question.
SAP invoice he's talking about.
SAP invoice, what do you mean by a SAP invoice? A SAP invoice, I guess, means an invoice generated through SAP. So,
Right.
So that is something which you've been doing till now. But what I told you, you have to see whether all these elements which are there in an invoice are there in the schema or not. If they are there, okay. If there is some additional item in the schema which is mandatory but which is not there in your invoice, you'll have to change the invoice. It is as simple as that. Yeah.
Meanwhile, there is a QR code on your screens. We are delivering the solution. We are in collaboration with more than 200 companies for invoicing solution and ESP GSP services. You can scan this QR code because we don't have much time left. It is going to be mandatory from 1st of October and this entire process takes time. So just contact Webtel. Webtel provides end-to-end integration and the complete data security.
And the phone numbers, I think, will be provided on the screen. And we have offices all across the country. And the person who is near to you will contact you and solve your queries, etc. And also guide you through the entire process. Then there's a question from Shiv Jain whether e-invoice is applicable on debit and credit notes. Yes, Shiv, it's applicable on that also. Then there's a question about whether e-way bill, a separate request is to be made. We can do it both ways. Either you can generate e-invoice and put in all the data for generating the e-way bill. That is possible. You can put in the partial data so that part A is only generated. That is possible. You might not put even the transport, that even part A will also not be generated. So all these things are possible.
So someone is asking about Navision integration, sir.
Yes, we are doing for Navision also. If you provide your contact numbers or you contact on our the numbers given on our screen, people will contact you and you guide you through the process.
I think, sir, we are integrating with all the ERPs for a generation of
Let me tell you, but we'll be typically taking from 2 to 3
Hmm.
weeks for integration. But with each passing day, since the backlog keeps on increasing and the number of people who wake up for this e-initiative will keep on increasing, it will become a little difficult on our part also. So we may take a little longer. So it is always advisable that you start immediately, right away. Otherwise, you might get late. And just think of the scenario where on the 1st of October,
Right,
the
sir.
government is asking you to issue e-invoices only, and you are not able to issue them. Uh, how the face saving will be done in front of your directors, your board, your senior officials, etc. You'll not be able to say, sir, for the next 7 or 10 days, let us not issue any invoices, let us not dispatch any material. I think none of us can say that. So it's very important that we get ready, and for that we'll have to begin right away.
Right, sir. So this is the question, what will you do on 1st of October? So you have to be ready, and believe me, the time is it's getting by day and day it's getting over. So it's the right time. Webtel has the best solution, and contact us for an end-to-end integration. Our
Not
team.
only the solution, the support is wonderful. And most of our users, if anybody is using here as of now, I am not aware whether our users have connected here or not. The wonderful support that our people provide, that is our USP. Because people sit at late at night at 12, and one also to ensure that your returns are uploaded, that their e-way bills are generated, and they will also ensure that the e-invoices are generated properly.
Sir, a lot of people are asking about the recording of this webinar.
Okay, we'll provide to also.
I think, sir, it is the session is live on YouTube, so you can go to YouTube anytime. You just subscribe to our YouTube channel, Webtel Lectures of Private Limited, and you will be able to see all the videos and the past webinars anytime, 24/7, 365, sir. It is an open platform wherein you can access all the knowledgeable events and webinars um, anytime, anywhere. You just have to subscribe our YouTube channel. Don't forget to do that. I think, sir, we have taken most of the questions, and
Okay.
the session was really good, sir. Very interactive. I think 60% of the audience is still active on YouTube and as well as our portal. And we'll be keep doing such sessions in the future as well. You can contact us and recommend us which session you want us to do. So with this, I would like to thank Rajiv, sir. If you want to add something, sir.
I would like to thank the participants for the active participation, and I think they'll benefit from the webinar, and we'll continue doing these knowledge sharing sessions, whereby because these things are changing very fast. The government is making a lot of changes every now and then. We have an entire team who's onto this job, who's all doing all these things, updating the things for you, and just in 24 hours or 48 hours, changes are being done so that already testing is being done for many corporates for invoicing also, that we are doing the work, and they are really satisfied with the work. And those of you who are interested can contact us on these numbers on the screen, or these email IDs, or the QR code that to which you might have scanned, and our team will contact you all over the country and help you in this e-invoice regime. And I'm sure with our support, with our help, with our all these things that we are doing, whether these are webinars or these knowledge sharing sessions, or our team contacting you personally through even physical visits where necessary, even in this COVID period. So we are doing all what is possible, and I think that's make life easier for you, more comfortable. And just try and I think even for that, I think you must try and download the schema from the website. Just download the schema from the website, and in the next webinar I'll ask you how many of you can understand how much of that, so that will also make things clearer to you, because
Just
what
a bit of
you get,
homework for all our participants, sir.
yeah, because what you get here through Webtel is on a platter, because all the difficult part we are doing for you, we are making the car for you. It is for you only to drive the car. Thank you so much for joining, and definitely let's keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful comments that we have been receiving in the chat section. With your support, we are, organizing such a big number of webinars and with the best speakers in the industry. Thank you so much. With this, I would like to sign off and we'll see you again. Thank you.